So all of our videos are going to be 2 parts, it sounds like. Sorry about that. Don't know what's going on with the internet, but it's the enemy. Going back to it, not sure where we dropped you guys, but to come...
the journey.
The journey.
It cut you off mid-sentence at the journey.
Okay. So going back to that, the journey that we're supposed to be on is one where we are trying to find peace, trying to find a resolution, trying to find the way to support each other and to love each other and respect each other in order to help each other be a better person, a better Christian, to submit more and more to what God's will is for us instead of just what we want and what we think should happen.
Right.
We should love each other, or in verse 28, in this same way husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cares for it, just as Christ does the church. For we are all members of his body. So, I mean, that's one of the things going on in society today is where, in a way, a lot of people are treating each other the way that they treat themselves. If you're constantly down on yourself, if you think you have no worth, if you're defining yourself by your acts of service or the things that you do, and then if you fail, then you're no longer a good person. If you're defining yourself by worldly means instead of by what God defines you as, you're always going to be responding to other people in a similar manner. Find your definition of who you are in Christ first. From there, and that's a journey. That's not something that you're going to be able to pray. I mean, I guess maybe you could pray one time. That's not something I was ever able to do. That was a process, and is still an ongoing process about what does God say about me? Who am I? How much am I cherished and loved and forgiven by him? And that propels me on to try to be a better person. As we do that as individuals, we become more and more compassionate towards others who are maybe struggling. Every marriage that's out there has 2 parts. And there's 2 roles. There's never one who is 100% responsible for every single thing that goes good or that goes bad. There's always a joint effort there. If my husband responds wrong to me, it doesn't justify me responding wrong to him. I still have my own responsibility to conduct myself in a way that is honoring and glorifying to God. Do we get it right all the time? Absolutely not. But the goal is to keep trying to do that over and over and over so that we can unify each other more and more.
If there's strife, whoever is, sometimes it's me creating the strife. Sometimes I'm angry.
I'm just kidding. Totally
Thanks. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's Christy.
It is.
Rarely, but every now and then. But the thing is, whichever one of us is angry, not feeling the peace,
struggling,
the other one should step up and soothe things, calm down. It's your choice. You can soothe things, or you can throw gas on the fire. Gas on the fire is not going to be productive unless you just want to burn your marriage down. But being that peacemaker, it will pay dividends. It will glorify God.
Now, sometimes when we're in a habit of doing the wrong thing, of responding the wrong way, sometimes what we can do is we try once or twice and then we think, I've failed, so what's the point? I'm a failure. Or we think our spouse, well, he's back to his old ways, or she's doing the same thing she said she's trying to not do. And when that happens, a lot of times people will just throw in the towel as if, well, it's just done. I'm washing my hands of it, and I'm just going to go back to protecting myself or being the way that I think I should be. You're never going to make progress, and you're never going to change the tide in your marriage if every time you run into a challenge, you don't take that step back, even if you failed, and take that step back and say, I don't want to do that. Why did I do that? Why did I respond? I'm sorry for acting that way or doing that. You want grace for your own faults and weaknesses and sin. You want mercy. I know I do. But we don't like giving it to our spouse because a lot of times our spouse's actions, their sin, their weaknesses, it impacts us directly.
And they should know better, right?
And we take that as a personal assault. And instead of it being a me against him and being on opposite sides of the rope, we need to get on the same side of the rope. That's from Pastor Steve. Thank you. I'm going to plug you on that. But we need to get on the same side of the rope and pull together on the benefit of the marriage, not pulling against each other.
Yeah.
It's not a him or her thing. It's an us thing. And when we allow our marriage to disintegrate to a his or her side or my viewpoint and your viewpoint, that immediately creates a division where the enemy gets a foothold. Yeah. So how do you overcome all these things? How do we try to change the tide so that we are able to become more unified, more in alignment with God and God focused? First and foremost, and we'll say this pretty much every time that we do any lesson, is start communicating for about 15 minutes a day. Have a talk where all the electronics are turned off, the phone is turned off. Don't leave it on so that and just set it down because you want to be able to disconnect from it completely and not have any dings showing up.
Right.
Talk for 15 minutes a day. That's not about the grocery list. That's not about the plans for the budget. It's not any of that. It's about how was your day? What's going on with you? Are you feeling okay? Or are you struggling? Was anything really good? Did you get recognized at work? Did one of the kids do you have this great milestone today? However that looks, but where you're starting to share in your life instead of being two people who coexist in the same home.
Yeah.
The next thing is to bring God into it. That's really the first thing, but bring God into your marriage regularly. Read some scripture together every single day. It's better to do it earlier in the day instead of right when you're getting ready to fall asleep and everybody's exhausted.
And men, take the lead. Read. Even if you don't like reading out loud, it's you and your wife. Exert that authority, that leadership, and read out loud to your wife. She can follow along in her Bible, but you do the reading. We found this out just by accident, really. But I challenge you to do it for 40 days and see where your marriage is at the end of those 40 days. Because ours was in a completely different place after that. It was huge. Night and day.
And then pray for each other. Not God change him and condemn him for what he's doing and give him the revelation that he needs or that she needs for where they're wrong, but where you're praying specifically for God to equip them and to help them in whatever area he sees fit. And then also pray for yourself for God to show you what you're supposed to do. What is your role? If there's something that needs to change and that you need to struggle with God on, if there's something you need to start doing that you haven't been doing, we like going to other people and getting their opinion and their advice about what we should do in our marriage or a relationship. But the thing is God knows better than any person is ever going to. One word of caution is that God never gives us advice and direction that goes against his word. So if you're getting an idea that you know God says not to do, and you think, well, I'm the exception to the rule, God doesn't do that.
No.
So sometimes we can inject our own will, and we say that it's God, but it isn't really. God will convict you. He will put this feeling inside of you that this is what you need to do, and the majority of the time it's something uncomfortable. It's something that we don't want to do because it means we're having to grow and let some of the flesh desires die in order to be in God's will and obedient to him. So if it's something that's making you really, really, really uncomfortable because you feel like you're going to be, why do I always have to be the one to do this or whatever, you might be on the right track.
Think of it as, giving your kids medicine. They may not like the taste, but it really is for their benefit. And God does the same thing with us. He's gonna stretch your comfort zone. He's gonna want you to step out of it. He's gonna want you to do things that you don't feel like. Well, if he would do this, I would do this, or if she would just stop, then I could. Well, that's not grace.
And that's not the type of prayer that we should be praying.
Right.
So, with all of that being said, I hope that you have enough to kind of digest and maybe reflect on throughout the week. A great prayer is to God check you in the moment. That's one that I pray regularly, that if I'm out of alignment with Him, with anybody, starting with my husband and my children, people that I reach out to and that I'm trying to disciple, people that I try to teach, people that I just come in contact with in normal life at the grocery store, in the gas station. If I have an attitude that isn't Christ-like, I want Him to let me know in the midst of that so I can pull it back. Not always successful in that, for sure, but He is pretty faithful in letting us know. There's times that, I rebel against it and I sit down in whatever emotion I have, but the more you pray that, the more faithful God is. Yeah. So I hope that all of you mothers out there are enjoying your Mother's Day.
Yes.
I pray that all of you husbands out there are honoring your wives today. And even if there has been strife, take that look at him and really just look at her and recognize that she's the mother of your kids, that she is doing the best that she can, and that she is human and she is weak. So love her through it.
And guys, if you forgot about it, if you messed up, if you did something, you said something wrong, you got the wrong whatever, don't let that ruin the rest of the day. Let go of it, move on, love your wives. Honor her. Be this is where she belongs.
Yeah.
Love her. Don't let the enemy insert guilt into your relationship when you can move past that.
I'm going to pray us out, and we're going to get back to our mother.